Hi, this is Lucas with Victory Gardens. I've been talking to people about my irrigation system, and it's been pretty hard to describe. So I wanted to do a little video review to show you what it's like. You have to forgive me, this is my first video review and it's unscripted and I look horrible on camera anyway. But the purpose is to look at the irrigation system. I think as small farmers, gardeners, in order to make it, you have to help one another out. And this is in my opinion, a good system. I bought it from Irrigation online. Well, we called them up. I'm no way affiliated with Irrigation Mart or receiving anything for this. I just really feel it was a good system for a really good price, and the people were extremely friendly and helpful, and that won my business. The price for the system is about $120 or $130. I don't remember exactly. You can find Irrigation Mart online by Googling Irrigation Mart. I would recommend that you call them when you order, however, to deal with the people that you're dealing with. I thought at first that they were just an online eBay seller, but it turns out that they're not, that they're actually a pretty large distributor that carry a lot of products. And I've been extremely happy with them. That being said, let me show you the irrigation system. This is a drip line system. Irrigation Mart sells it to cover 1,000 feet, linear feet. It's set up for 10 rows at 100 foot. I did not set up 100 foot, or excuse me, 10 rows or 100 foot, and they gave me plenty to do that, I believe. Let me show you the system here really quick. Pardon my jiggling the camera. One of the reasons I like this system is because it taps right into your regular garden hose and your regular faucet. Your regular faucet should run 40 pounds of pressure. This runs off of a low pressure system. So in order to do that, it runs off of a pressure regulator that reduces it to somewhere around 10 or 14 pounds, I believe. Don't quote me on that. This is a filter. It's pretty easy. All it does is unscrew, and it has a cup-sized filter in there that we scrub it off with a toothbrush. This is kind of important for us because we run off of a home water well, and there's sand in our system as well as other minerals. This hasn't clogged in us yet. We've been running it pretty good for most of the summer, and we're pretty impressed with it. As you can see, like I said, it ties right into our garden hose. There goes the filter, the adapter, the pressure regulator, and then it runs into a main hose here. The main hose is a larger, a little bit sturdier hose. You see, it's pretty flexible. When you run water through it, all these hoses tighten up pretty stiff here. I've got it running pretty stiff here, but they're just enough flexible. However, I don't believe they really run around corners that well. That main line is tapped into by punching a hole with this little tool provided. It punches a little hole. It's kind of difficult to punch through. And then you run your drip line, as you can see. Your drip line is a pretty flexible, it feels thin, a pretty flexible hose. Once again, when it runs full of pressure, it tightens up pretty tight so it doesn't really bend around corners. We bought ours that have an emitter already installed in the drip line at every 12 inches. You can see that emitter there by my thumb. At the end, the far end, you simply bend the drip line over and then put the clip on there. It just slides right over. I don't think I can do it with one hand. It just slides right over and holds it pretty tight. It works pretty well. We haven't had any leaking on that opposite end. You run your drip line all the way down your distance of your row, and then you simply cut it off. A simple scissors works well, or even we did it with a pocket knife. And then you install the connector. The connector just simply, the hose slides right on, and you simply tighten it up, and it clamps right onto that hose. Just like that, and it holds pretty tight. We paid the extra $10 or $15 for the shutoff valve connectors. If you were to buy them individually, the price far exceeds that extra $10 or $15 that they have in the kit. The kit does come with something called goof plugs. In case you punch a hole in that main line and you decide you don't want your drip line running from there, or next year you want to run it in a different place, you put in a goof plug. It does also come with a repair for the drip line and a repair for the main line. Let me show you here our connection here. Once you punched a hole, those connectors just slide in. They slide in kind of tough, but that's to keep them from leaking, of course. And we've had very little trouble. There's one that I tried to push in a little too hard at the wrong angle, and it does drip, and I haven't fixed it yet, but not a great deal. You can see again that drip line gets pretty tough once you fill it up with water. I like these drip lines so far because you can see from the emitter, it just drips down. For us, it hasn't run along the line. When we had experience with our soaker hose, the soaker hose would, emit all over the whole length. But if there was a hill or a valley, all the water would run along the line and drip off at the low spot. We haven't had a problem with this with our drip line. Also, you can see over here, I've had to clamp it down. Not clamp it down, stake it down. Those little lawn stakes. This is because when it's loose and it gets warm out, it kind of expands and kinks a little bit. And then when you run water through it, it cools off and tightens up. And if you do this without fastening it down, it tends to move a little bit. Not a great deal, but enough that if you're planting lettuce and whatnot thickly around it, it tends to move just enough so it hits some of the lettuce and stuff. And so to keep it from damaging things right next to it, we put those stakes down. As you can see next to our chard here, I've got it running right next to our chard, and we've got it staked down so it doesn't move next to it. In my experience with this drip line, the water, you can see, kind of goes out about 8 inches to each side once it's soaked up and saturated. A little bit further if you run it. It'll go almost a foot on each side. But we have sandy soil and it soaks down pretty quickly. So you really, 8 inches is a good estimate, I think. So that means that running it off of our regular amount, we don't really need them this close together. However, on the two sides of our high tunnel here, we put them this close together because we felt that it would be advantageous to us to run them this close when we pack it full with our lettuce and whatnot that grows thick in between. For our tomatoes, we've run it under plastic mulch, and we just have one line that runs next to the tomatoes. It was convenient for us when planting because it already had the 12 inches marked out, so we knew exactly where to put our tomatoes to space them for 2 feet apart. All we had to do was plant them next to the drip emitters. This system is supposed to run off of 70%, up to, I should say, 70% less water than a regular sprinkler. In our high tunnel, I would say, I don't know the exact amount, but I would say it runs off a good deal less. We don't lose any from the wind that we do from our regular garden sprinklers, and it goes right down into the soil and tends to stay there. I've been pretty happy with it. I have heard reports that gophers like to chew on this, but we put ours above ground. You can put this below ground, and I think that's probably where you hit most of your gopher issues if you do that. But we have a lot of gophers, and we ran it above ground and haven't had any problems with gophers or mice chewing on it yet. Like I said, this system is meant for 1,000 linear feet, which would serve your, say, 30 foot by 100 foot high tunnel just fine. Ours is only a 70 foot high tunnel, so we ran only 9 lines, and we've got pretty good water coverage through almost all of our high tunnel. This system runs off of 1 gallon per minute, or excuse me, 1 gallon per hour of drip line. We run it in our sandy soil about 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours, 2 to 3 times a week, depending on you know, our needs and the conditions and whatnot. And like I say, I've been pretty impressed with it. And you can see our tomatoes aren't doing so bad either, and they're liking the high tunnel. I believe the plastic mulch is an important part of this because it does stop some of that evaporation. But I've noticed that when we keep it watered pretty regularly, even when it's hot and dry out, that it does keep the ground moist. It soaks slow enough that it does keep the ground moist enough, deep far enough down. There's my lettuce that's way too big, and I imagine now it's bitter. Well, that's all I can think of to say on our irrigation system. Once again, I'd like to reiterate, I did use the Irrigation mark, and I'm not associated with the Irrigation mark. However, I've been very impressed with them. I guess that's all for now. I hope my little demonstration helped.